You're live.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 18th. Time is 3:14 PM, and I call the Board of Estimate and Contract monthly meeting into order. Clerk Benita, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Comptroller Morton,
Here.
Council President Brown,
Here.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Here. You can proceed with the agenda.
All right. Under resolutions approving ordinances, number one, Office of the Mayor, an ordinance authorizing a budget transfer to cover future purchases within the Office of the Mayor.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
So, okay, let's go.
I don't know if this is this for the training and travel line or future purchases
They transferred from outside contracted services to travel.
to travel? Okay.
Okay, and it's being requested to transfer that because.
Well, I'm not over yet, but I'll be expending my travel budget. And we still have NLC for the second half. We still have NICOM for the second half. What I haven't, my travel budget, I never increased. Because most of my travel was being paid outside of the city, right? So for the past 5 years, as an AMA officer, or as a speaker at USCM or at the National League of Cities, oftentimes they were paying for my travel. And since I'm not AMA president and I'm not currently sitting on the leadership team for USCM and National League of Cities, I am paying for my travel to these conferences. And so I've never, ever hit my travel budget in the city. And so we never increased it, but we didn't pay attention to the fact that some of these are standard trips. And then also with the size of the conferences, going kind of by myself doesn't make sense, especially to something like NLC. It's just huge, and there can be 7, 8, sometimes almost 10 workshops at a time, about 4 or 5 of them that we as a city need to be at. And so I'm taking Chief Clark with me on that trip. But I'm trying to get an accounting from Mr. Hamilton, and we're waiting for all of the expenses to be put in to see really where we are. Because we had put in originally for Chief Clark to go with USCM with me, and he did not go, and that saved us $1,500 on the registration that was not used. He did not go with me to NICOM, which I think he might have been originally scheduled to do. So we haven't spent the monies, but that's for future.
So can we have a broader discussion about just before we act on this, but in general about travel for this year, right? And the reason why I'm asking that is because I'm beginning to look at the monthly reports and things of that sort and anticipating on what we're looking at as it pertains to cash and all that. And I think that we're gonna have to probably scale back, right, on the travel this year and look at travel and determine what makes sense, what is most important, what is most critical to go to, and what is not, right? And I think that because I'm concerned about cash flow, I'm concerned about us being able to make sure that we meet the most essential kinds of expenditures, given the fact that we all know that this budget was very, very tight, right? And then all that's happening outside of that, which is what other funds are actually going to come in for it. So just when I was looking through, seeing some of the travel things, it just said to me, we need to probably look at this and just be able to come up with some sort of, I guess, mechanism for how we choose where we actually essentially need to go. Because here's what I know. I know that we're going to have to go to some places because of what's happening outside.
Exactly.
Right? So I understand that, but if we can do without, like, for example, coming down, we have a request somewhere down here, we have a request for 11 people to go to a code enforcement conference. And the question would be, right?
Well, yeah,
And the
that's a
question-
training. It's kind of mandatory annual for them to
Okay,
keep their code.
but that's what
And
I'm,
it's a
those are the
very-
kinds of things that I
Yeah.
want to be able to
Yeah.
also make sure that I, as well as,
Mhm.
I mean, you know that, I want to make sure that the council and I, but in addition to that, also understand that so that when we're looking at it, we know that this is something that actually is essential. It might be a requirement, it might be whatever the case would be, and we can go and we can definitely do it this year. Okay?
Mhm.
All right. That, I mean, that
No,
was my
and-
concern, because I just want to make sure that we're making the decision deliberately.
Absolutely. And on the record, because I know there's always been this big question around my travel and how much I travel or how much my travel is costing the city. And I can tell you, and if I ever sat there and put them and printed them all out, 90% of my travel has been paid outside of the city. The city has not paid for my travel. And even when it comes to days off, I've taken 7 vacation days in 5 years. So even if I just take my vacation days for work travel, I wouldn't even eat up all of my vacation days because, so I get that. And what you just said is very true. And we're in a very interesting time period in our country right now. And when we went to the U.S. Conference of Mayors, one of the reasons we chose for Malcolm not to go is because it was right at the time of the switchover, right? And so it didn't make sense to have an extra person there to go to workshops where we still didn't have secretaries from the president at those meetings. And so that's why we pulled back. But now National League of Cities is kind of the equivalent to NICOM, but on a national level. And it is the Congressional Cities Committee, right? And so that's when your Congress people and your secretaries will be at that meeting for us to kind of gauge, to see kind of where we are and what we're looking at. We're getting emails, we're getting executive orders, we're getting these things. But now, this one that's coming up is critical. I mean, it's already been approved, but it's what we need to be in a room for, because there is so much sweeping change and trying to figure it out and keep up with it. I literally saw, right now, we have a Department of Transportation grant, 2 of them, the one through GFOA that y'all heard about, and then the other one, Safe Streets for All. Both of those are put on hold. Both of those, but we haven't spent money on those. Both of those are put on hold. The new Department of Transportation directive that we saw come out in Bloomberg yesterday, and I'm on Bloomberg's list, so I get the information, is the new directive for cities to get transportation money. They have to show that they have an increase in birth rates and an increase in marriage rates. So new Department of Transportation grants will be focused on increasing marriage rates in your community and increasing birth rates. So,
Okay.
like these, and if we weren't kind of tapped into some of the Bloomberg stuff, I wouldn't have seen that. But when I saw it yesterday, I was kind of just like, wow. Right. So, no, but definitely, we're looking at all of the travel, and if travel is not associated with critical information, if it's not associated with like the Youth Bureau with the requirement of their grants for them to be there and them to present, if it's not associated with continuing education and keeping the credentials like the building department or the fire or police department or things like that nature, or major changes in infrastructure or stormwater management, we are not doing some of those travels, right? Because we just can't. Like you said, the budget is tight. So, I mean, we can hold this if you want to hold this. Right now, this is not approving a trip. It's approving just a transfer for future, and so we could hold off on one, but yeah. So how do y'all want to do it?
Well, I don't know, where, do we know, have we done a reconciliation of it?
We're in the process of it.
All right,
It's looking like
so
about,
why don't we do that? Why don't we do a reconciliation to see if there's even a need to do it? I mean, I think the mayor's anticipating that based upon the ones that are coming, that there might be, but at
Yeah.
least to say we got.
Probably more around
Yeah.
July or
Yeah,
August.
Let's just hold it. Well, let's look at the announcement and then bring it back, I guess, next meeting, because I guess it has come back next meeting one way or the other. So let's look at what you can reconcile.
Mhm.
And to see where that line may very well be now based upon the travel that has happened.
Right.
And then also, I guess, what anticipated travel is, because then let's just do a forecasting out. Because if we know what the essentials are, then let's plan for that. Make sense?
okay,
And then maybe what we do is ask the departments too, to kind of get to you those things, like the things that are most essential that they think are gonna need, for them to need to travel to, and the justification for it, so that we have that information ahead of time. You know, we gotta think ahead, because this is,
Yeah, and there's just,
yeah,
it's a lot of change at
This
the
is-
same time. It's
Yeah, this is
interesting
very-
times.
deliberate management, financial management of this year.
yeah, from the looks of what we have so far, there's
You probably
the
just,
trips are probably right under 3,000, so there's enough in the line for this trip without needing the transfer.
Okay, yeah, we don't
Yeah.
wanna hold up.
no, we don't,
So, yeah,
yeah.
we just wanna
this
also
one
make sure
doesn't
we know
need
where it is,
transfer.
and then also understand what may very well be coming down the pipe
Right.
with it as it pertains to what's essential. Okay,
Okay.
all right, so hold it.
So we'll hold that. So do we have to, or are we holding it? Do I have to pull it? What do we?
Yeah, I move to withdraw the motion.
Oh, second,
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
aye,
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye. Number 2?
Yep. Okay. And number 1 is held. Okay, number 2, Office of the Mayor, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and chief of staff to attend the African American Mayors Association, AAMA, annual conference in Washington DC and approving related expenditures April 16th to April 18th, 2025.
Before I move it, this is an essential one.
Yeah,
Okay.
because this is the very conference where we're going to be focusing on communities like ours, right? I mean, you know, while some of the discussion at US Conference of Mayors and at National League of Cities are on everything, we are a community that is 85% Black and brown that's going to be more impacted than we are a majority minority community. And we are going to be more impacted by what's happening on the federal level right now than communities that are not majority minority. So this is really one of the essential ones. Because almost every grant that we've been asked to write in the last 4 years all included equity language. And anything that includes equity language is what's being pulled first.
it's interesting, you know, that was a discussion this weekend too. At the, New York State Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Asian Legislative Conference, right? And the mayor of, Albany talked about the fact, I guess she was on a call with other mayors and that, made reference to, well, what is it? We gonna do in Mount Vernon when we are majority minority community, if they, especially if they're talking about pulling funding and telling people that you can't have different diversity on your brochures and all this other stuff, and things of that sort, and get federal funding. Right? It's really gonna impact school district, but also us, because we got some federal funds that come down from the federal government. They either come through as pass-throughs or directly, particularly related to our youth and recreation programs. So it's going to be very interesting.
Well, a lot's gonna be interesting because I think New York gets around $6 billion in education funding. And, all of that is kind of on the line. New York and California are where our governors and our agents are pushing back and leading lawsuits more than anyone else. And the county is also kind of been lifted up, and the focus has been put on the county of Westchester now, because of the special election that just happened, right? And then Mount Vernon, for the official record, is the blackest community north of the Mason-Dixon line, right? And that's just a fact. That's who we are, right? And those are the things under one administration that made us strong for federal funding. And under a different administration, it is reason for us not to get funding, to be disqualified for funding. So that's just the fact of it, and how do we operate and navigate in that type of environment. Okay,
All right.
have a
Make the motion.
motion
So moved.
Second.
on the question? Yeah, that's what I say. We had a question. Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 3, Department of Public Works and ordinance establishing a list of qualified environmental/sustainability consultants.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Okay, so I guess this is the follow-up to either last meeting or the meeting before, when we opened up these RFQs, right? So walk me through the process. So we put out an RFQ, stuff comes back to this board, right? Because we had this discussion too, on whether it should even come here, it should go there, it should go to council, should come here, right? And we open them up, and then they go to the department, and the department just does this. This is just that they just make a list of qualified folks, and then what happens? Is there an RFP that now goes out to this list? Or what?
Yes,
What's-
I honestly, I think this list causes confusion with some of the departments because they believe that once the RFQ is done, that they've met the procurement policy. But they still have to go out and follow the procurement policy as if, like, even if this list wasn't there, right? Where this list comes in handy is if we have emergency work and we need to go to someone quickly that we know can do the work, that's when the list really comes in handy. But if it's over $20,000, we still gotta go out for RFP. This doesn't exempt us from going out for RFP.
Yeah, no, it doesn't exempt us from going out for an
Or getting the
RFP.
quotes that we need, sorry.
It doesn't exempt us from going out for an RFP. I think it just helps us to know the universe of those people who have already kind of stepped forward to work with us for those emergency and non-emergency cases. But if we have to go out to something for an RFP, and when we're looking for consultants potentially for some of these projects, these are small projects, right? Might be a project for 2,000 or 5,000, or, that doesn't require an RFP, but this again helps us to already have a universe of people that we know that we can work with, whether it's on a small tree project or on a electrical vehicle charging station project where we need to write a plan and then even go out for an RFP, right? Right. So even having the people with some of the qualifications to even write an RFP, to know what we need to include in this, this helps to shorten and take away some of that upfront time and help us to build relationships with subject matter experts in various areas.
Okay, all right, so it does help, I guess, from the standpoint of those things that don't necessarily have to go to procurement. It gives kind of this quick list of people who've already kind of been qualified, as we know that they can do that kind of job. If it's above that level, then it still follows the procurement process.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, because they're consultants. They may not be contracted project managers or the people to do the work. So if we're doing something around EV charging stations, they might help us to write the EV charging plan, but they're not necessarily the companies who are going to install the EV chargers. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Or help us to
I
write
just want to make sure.
climate action plan or something of that nature. So that, because in order to go after certain things now, you even have to have the plan. And so if we don't have these plans, it's going to even be hard for us to write for certain grants and apply for certain things. So we at least need to get to a place where we're creating plans. And I think this is where they help us more than anything else.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the departments understand too, President Pound's point. I want to make sure the departments understand that. We don't want to be backtracking when somebody went because they thought that they just could go. Okay, so thank you. Thank you.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
All right.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 4, Department of Public Works and Ordinance authorizing Curtis Wood, City Engineer, to attend the New York State Buildings Official Conference for required in-service training, White Plains, New York, on February 26th and 27th, 2025, and March 19th through the 20th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 5, Department of Public Works and Ordinance imposing fees in addition to fines and request reimbursement of costs incurred in response to an illicit sewer discharge incident.
Moved.
Second.
On the question?
Okay, this is,
On the question, Chicken Hut sat there and Chicken Hut, a business here in Mount Vernon, not just for the first time, but were caught pouring gallons of old cooking oil down the sewer. And we did call the state and we brought in the state and we had to do an immediate cleanup. And so we are charging them for the cost of what it cost us to bring in people on overtime and pull in and dedicate city services to cleaning up their illicit discharge. So this is the actual cost and, you know, they have a whole spreadsheet of who worked on it, how much it costs. Huh?
It was a vendor, not chicken. So
Well,
say their
Well, it was the
name.
Chicken Hut vendor,
Say their name. So nobody else hires them.
huh?
Say their name so nobody else hires them.
So the vendor that was working for Chicken Hut is Aid and J Hood Cleaners, who was hired by Chicken Hut to do this. And the vendor was observed discharging fats, oils, and grease, FOG, already into the MS4 system in violation of the city code. And the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation spill response team came in and worked with our DPW to make immediate mitigation responses. And so, yeah.
so was there, okay, so it's a violation of law.
Mhm.
So was there a fine, I guess, for the violation of law to the
This
to
is
the
the,
establishment and even or to the company itself?
this is the imposition of fees. This is what we're charging.
No, I got that
Yeah.
for cleanup, but
Mhm.
I'm trying to ask about the actual violation, the penalty to the person who contracted them and or the contractor. Is there something that also is legally that can or should be done to them? Because while we call out the name, that's fine, but
No,
they
this
can
is-
go down someplace else and go do it at.
No, this is gonna come out to $2,000, so it's gonna be more expensive than a ticket. Right? We're actually charging them the actual fees and not just writing a ticket that might only charge them like $250. We are charging them for what it costs for the actual cleanup, which would exceed the ticket.
No, I got that.
So that's
Charging who?
You get the ticket as well, yes.
Huh?
You're also asking, did they get the actual ticket?
Yeah, but who? Then who? Who
We are-
here we're charging Chicken Hut, not the vendor.
No, Aid and J Hood Cleaners.
Oh, the vendor is
The
actually.
vendor. Mhm. The discharge was by Aid and J Hood Cleaners. Vendor hired by Chicken Hut, so they're the ones who are being charged. And just while we're on this, while you're kind of contemplating and coming up with your next question, we do have here in the city of Mount Vernon, because, you know, this is not the first time we caught someone doing this. We have for our businesses and for our residents, a used cooking oil
Drop off.
drop off at our fire stations, right? That where our Youth Bureau and ELOC, Environmental Leaders of Color, were just recognized in Albany for creating that project, and for which surrounding communities are adopting similar projects. So, you know, we have shared with the business community that they could always bring their oil over to the fire department. There are drums there, and we've already set up with people who can haul it away, right? So there was no reason for them to do this. There was no reason for them to do this.
Okay. So, but according to this, it's Chicken Hut that actually is
Cited, yeah.
being cited.
In
Mhm.
section 4, it says Chicken Hut.
Yep.
I mean, which makes sense because it's, we have jurisdiction over
Chicken Hut.
Yeah.
Now they can always recoup their monies from the vendor that they hired who got them the ticket, but,
Give them,
Right.
give them both.
Okay.
but yeah, it's for $1,938.54.
Okay.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 6, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the selection of HVEA engineers for design and construction inspection services for the South Fulton Avenue Bridge Rehabilitation Project, BIN 2225220.
So move.
Second.
On the question?
So, are we entering into a contract? Do we have, is there, was selection of them? So what does this actually mean? Is there a contract? Is there
I didn't see a contract in there.
not? I didn't even.
Shahi, can you ask Kelsey to call Commissioner Bush, ask him to come back? Either him or Curtis Woods? Can we come back to, because we're gonna have the same thing for the next one, so can we come back to number 6 and 7? And right now, just skip over 6 and 7 and go
Number 8.
number 8,
All right, number 8,
huh?
We have to withdraw the-
Yeah, so, I move to withdraw the motion.
Well,
Well, we're gonna come back to it.
we could move, we could also move to postpone it rather than withdraw it. I mean, it can be postponed. I can move to postpone it till after, we'll come back to it later in the agenda.
Okay.
I move.
Second.
Mhm.
Yeah, second.
Second.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay.
So maybe we should skip the next two as well, because if DPW is coming, I'm probably got questions
Okay.
about that contract, right?
You want me to go to 10?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 10, Board of Water Supply, an ordinance establishing the position of senior account clerk within the Board of Water Supply.
Second.
Questions?
So I didn't get a chance to look at this. And again, I apologize because I actually kind of got this stuff today. I'm trying to see because it was in their budget. The position was in their budget, but I'm confused. I don't know because I didn't have a chance to go look at it to see if it was on the salary resolutions that we did earlier already as to why this is even here. If it was on their budget, then I would have concluded that it would have been a part of the salary resolution that we did earlier in the year. But then George, did anybody ask George? All right, well, guess it's not a problem to double have approved it. Okay, all right. Well,
So,
yeah, we can.
roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 11, Department of Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the Department of Recreation to accept payments via automated clearinghouse, ACH, and wire transfers for Memorial Field revenue.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So not on a, it's not a question, but it's kind of just clarification. So, recreation is beginning to, I guess, get additional, vendors or clients, that are taking advantage of Memorial Field. And if they're getting larger kind of entities, and the larger entities, don't really deal, in paper checks. So, one of the things that they had requested of our office was the ability to be able to send their actual monthly or quarterly payments in through ACH, which actually is a much more efficient kind of way of doing it anyway. So we basically gave them kind of the process for that, and but told them that it definitely needed to have approval of the council and the board of estimates for us to then start to receive it. So that's what this is.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 12, Department of Recreation, an ordinance authorizing
Hold on. I just want you to look at 7, 8, 9, and 10 and just see if you're ready to answer questions on that, or if you're gonna need Curtis or John, or if anything, before we go back to them. You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
6, 7, 8.
Yes.
Was it 6, 7, 8, and 9?
Yep.
So 7, 8, 9. So we're going back to 6?
You start,
You stop me,
Thank you.
yeah.
I was gonna move to take 12 and 13.
That's a
Why
lot.
not?
But since we haven't moved anything,
Didn't do
we're
it.
back to 6.
Go back to 6. All right. Number 6, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the selection of HVEA engineers for design and construction inspection services for the South Fulton Avenue Bridge Rehabilitation Project, BIN 2225220.
So question was, is there a contract or something with this, engineering, I guess, company? Was it procured? I mean, you're talking about selection. I'm trying to, do we have an actual contract with a cost? Where's all of that detail?
Yeah, so we did a cost performance analysis with the other companies that submitted their bids. We do have a matrix where we show which company, the price that they did. So the actual contract is with the local. For review.
But so the contract is, I guess to Comptroller's point, has to go before city council to be approved. We didn't get it.
Yeah, usually we accept the bid and then the contract goes through city council and what happens.
Not in the last 3 years.
So what we've done is we
But we
accepted
just accepted
the
bid.
qualifications.
Right.
So the only thing that we did through city council and, well, through the board of estimate is we accepted the qualifications,
Correct,
but we haven't seen anything around contractual numbers
correct.
for these. So are you asking us to accept a contract or just accept that y'all have chosen?
Except that we've chosen HVEA to actually do the actual consulting.
Then you can bring the contract back later.
Correct, yeah, so it's for a little while.
Oh, okay. So you're
So this is
not
kind of just the award letter that this is the contractor that was selected.
the contractor, but
Right.
we are not entering into contract yet.
Correct.
Okay, that's what we were trying to get clarity.
Um,
There any questions?
Yeah, just I guess in the future, I guess I think the wording probably is better. That it's that you are asking for, this body to approve the awarding of the bid.
Well, I think it says authorizing the selection of HVE head.
Yeah, selection of doesn't, that's what caused me to, when you select somebody for it, then I was looking for a cost. I just think we'll eventually have to get the wording down, because we just want to make sure that there's no misinterpretation about what that means, right?
Understood.
And maybe even additional wording in here, and for the contract then to be, to be approved by the council and the board of estimates, something that qualifies what the next steps are in it could help me. Just because I just want to make sure we all, we all can look at the light and see the light different.
Understood.
All right, thank you.
And on, I just want to follow up. I want to follow up with, this comes through New York State DOT, correct?
Correct.
Want to follow up with them on the other, the the Third Street side. And just so y'all know, BIN just stands for Bridge Identification Number. So we have two overpasses there. This is for the Fulton Avenue one and not for the Third Street overpass. Okay. And it's the same thing for number 7, I would assume as well. Okay. All right. Roll call?
Comptroller Morton, Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 7, Department of Public Works and Ordinance authorizing the selection of Woodard and Curran for the South Third and South Columbus Avenues flood mitigation project under the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, HMGP, project number 4615-0004 CMDNY.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? This is just awarding, choosing the contractor, but not awarding the contract. And this comes out of the grant from Jamal Bowman's office, correct?
Yes.
For the mitigation project. We had a death at this site, so that's why we were awarded funds for this. Okay. Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 8, Department of Public Works and Ordinance authorizing the budget line transfer within the Department of Public Works to cover the cost of additional software services from iWorks System, Inc.
Second.
On the question?
All right, so what's the additional work that's being, what was the original work and what's the additional?
So the original work was, we entered into a contract with them last year for code enforcement, which we began utilizing. This is expanding on their software to use it for fleet maintenance management, as well as municipal facilities management and overall public works management. So as we all know, there's a lot of different things happening in DPW in terms of workflow. So this system kind of combines it all in one, so we're able to track it and manage it a lot better.
So for sewer,
Correct.
for street paving, for electric, for municipal maintenance, for the fleet management, which we've been talking a lot about, for parks and trees and everything. So it's a full workflow maintenance where we can really have metrics and dashboards put out so we know the work that's open, what we've completed and what we have to do. Because we're currently using what kind of like paper.
Some of it is through SQL Fix, but majority of our internal workflow is just paper.
So the part that we already had, have we been utilizing it? How efficient have we been utilizing it and who's utilizing it?
So we're still in the implementation phase of it. Our foremen and supervisors are being trained on it as we speak. We actually have a meeting tomorrow on this one too. The code enforcement piece has been a little hiccup, but we're working out with the law department in terms of the legal ramifications. Make sure everything matches up with the actual system.
Okay, that's a question, I guess. Who's managing this system? Who's going to be the responsible party to manage the system, to make sure that people are utilizing it?
It'll be a combination of our deputy commissioner McCullough as well as our project manager.
The only thing I would add is, in the letter, it should specify the section, so it's over the threshold, but it's technology, so you should just specify that in the letter.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 9, Department of Public Works and Ordinance authorizing the adoption of technological and inspection solution for the Department of Public Works.
So moved, sorry.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye. Is there, I'm trying to see if this is something I can ask to put on the floor. Right now, I want to temporarily sunset C-Click Fix. I want to sunset C-Click Fix for maybe the next month or two while we make some adjustments to, the use of that platform.
I think yeah, well, I think that goes to the council.
Does that have to go to the
Yeah.
council?
Yeah, I think y'all,
Okay.
they adopted it. I think yes.
All right, so I'll send a letter. We'll send it, you'll have a letter for your next meeting for next week on that, because I want to suspend C-Click Fix for right now. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I don't think we have anything else for you. Okay. We're good. Thank you. So we're moving on to number 12.
Move to take 12 and 13 as one item.
Second.
Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
So that's to take 12 and 13. Number 12, Department of Recreation and ordinance authorizing the Department of Recreation to sponsor the annual Easter egg hunt celebration in Hartley Park. Number 13, Department of Recreation and ordinance authorizing the establishment of the summer outdoor movie series as an official and annual event of the City of Mount Vernon Department of Recreation.
So moved.
Second.
We got him.
Huh?
He took care of it.
Oh,
Commissioner
okay.
Fish. Thank you.
All right, no problem.
On the question?
Only thing on the only thing on the question, I think we said this before, right? Well, I'm not sure that these have to come to us, right? They're not co-sponsoring it. It's not over their budget line. Right? I guess the only thing is, I guess maybe, I don't know, even because they're only asking for patrol. Right, on this, it's happening on our property. It's not a co-sponsorship. And so I'm not sure that those types of things necessarily need to come here. So. No, we had said after that.
If they're asking for control, does it just go to council and then ends there?
I mean, I don't even think they're asking for patrol or overtime for patrol. We really use auxiliary police. And they just make it a special attention in the police department. I mean, Summer Breeze is across the street from the police department. So if something happens, you jump up and you run outside. Right? We're not asking for, like overtime and dedicated officers for these pretty much family events.
Yeah. No, I just say that, I don't know, I mean, maybe there's something that the council is, right, you think that the council needs to approve this?
No, typically it's a co-sponsorship that we,
Yeah. Okay. So, okay.
and
Just-
we're not closing off any streets, right?
Mm-mm.
All right. In the future, we'll, no. Right. Like, if it's not a co-sponsorship, if it's just a department event, it's happening on our own property, it's not above the threshold that needs approval from the council or the board of estimates, it probably doesn't need to come here. Right? Because if, you know, any of that would have to go. Just stays one item on both agendas.
So we're gonna do a roll call?
Yeah,
Okay.
we already moved
Roll
on.
call.
Okay,
Mm.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 14, Youth Bureau, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a service agreement with Westchester Board of Legislators for the funding and operation of Safe Haven Youth Empowerment Program and Step Up through the Westchester County CBO funding for $180,718 commencing January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 15, Department of Buildings, an ordinance requiring code enforcement officials to attend the New York State Building Officials Conference, NYSBOC, for mandatory in-service training.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So now that I know that it's mandatory, I want to ask that question. I was going to ask this question around, why do we have to send all of these people? But now my question is about logistics. So that's 2 days. So how does that affect the operation of the office?
You know, you still have the clerks and you still have the admin staff that are in the office. So it doesn't shut down the building department. We're just not in the field those days of inspection. But people can still come in and, you know, drop off payments. They can still come in, well, they do that downstairs now anyhow. They can still come in and, you know, bring in applications, plans. And the clerks are still, you know, reviewing applications and responding. So it only impacts the commissioner, the deputy commissioners, and the code enforcement, you know, the inspectors and the code enforcement staff. This is part of their continuing education and all of the updates, you know, which we've historically missed for almost 20 years. So have to make sure that we're tight on these things, these trainings.
And so specific to these folks, though, there's, I guess, a mechanism in place to make sure that they got some stuff that they retained
Oh, yeah.
specifically to do, but we know, right? We've got so many challenges, but all right.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 16, Department of Public Safety and Ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Interaction Insight Corporation for the renewal of the NICE Inform V7 plan for the police department.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
This one.
Pulling open my package.
Your voice recorder. This was one of the items that they included in their budget request earlier on, and we knew, okay, all right. I'm good.
Okay. Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 17, Department of Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the attendance of 2 members of service at the FBI LEEDA Supervisor Leadership Institute training.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? And if there's not a question, our supervisory staff are required to take a certain amount of training in order to be in their supervisory positions, and this is one of the trainings that meets those requirements. So, as we've had retirements, we've had more promotions, and anytime we have those promotions, we have to make sure that they're properly trained. Roll call.
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 18, Department of Public Safety and Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a maintenance agreement with Cummins Allison for the period from February 19, 2025 to February 18, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 19, Department of Public Safety and Ordinance authorizing the purchase of the RICI Live Scan and Mugshot System replacement from DataWorks Plus for the Support Services Division of the Department of Public Safety.
So moved.
Second,
On the question?
one of the items.
No, this wasn't included in what went over for the budget.
Do they have enough money in there based upon items that they cover this?
They do, yeah. They have-
This is at the cost of $1,832. It's the maintenance agreement for what they have.
Well,
No, when we're talking there, number 19.
Number 9. Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, that's the live scan. My fault. Hold on. Let me go down.
yeah, I'm not even
Let me go down. My bad.
kidding. All right, that's.
I'm sitting here trying to go through here. Yo, this is 45.
So they had a list of items that they included in the budget, but then they had other discretionary money in that line because they knew there was gonna be something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
We left 100,000 in their line.
And have we encumbered the amounts for all those other things that they listed on their detail?
Well, those ones we moved over to.
Yeah, most of those have been moved over to management
Over the
service.
management service, have we encumbered all of that there?
So we have the listing and he knows he only has.
Not the listing, I asked, have we encumbered it in there?
So no, we have to encumber the units.
Okay, so let's encumber it. Yeah,
And they can't go.
okay. Okay, thank you. Be a rough year.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, roll call.
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 20, City Council, an ordinance authorizing the establishment of custodial accounts for property development projects, 22 West First Street and the Boys and Girls Club.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So let me just talk about this for a little bit because I've been inundated with emails around custodial accounts, right? And what is required from our office for these. So through the council and through the planning department, when projects are being proposed to the city, right? At one point, the city was utilizing its resources and its contracted, so through its contracted services to do some exploratory, investigative, research kind of work. In recent years, especially once some of this had also started to go through the council and the council became lead agency in some of this, that there was a actual contracted attorney that was then brought on board to help the council with those details. and be able to to provide the necessary information for the council to make informed decisions around projects, land use, things of that sort. By doing that, we also implemented the need to create escrow accounts that whereas though the people who are proposing projects, developers and so on would pay for those costs so that it does not become a taxpayer's expense on that. Right? And so once the council determines that this is a project in which they need some details on and need some work done on it, and have to assign that to their legal counsel on it, or even to someone who may have some expertise, because it may not be legal, it may be expertise things to be done. They then ask for the creation of a custodial account, right? Years past, these types of accounts would be deemed as what they call trust and agency accounts. There has since been changes in Gatsby and how we are to account for these types of monies, and now they are not to be accounted for outside of the city operation, the city's actual fund. They're to be accounted for within, and so therefore they called custodial accounts, right, in there. Our office just needs the information around the project title, who's in charge of the custodial account, right? And the description kind of the project in order for us to then establish it once we have a resolution that comes from the city council. And then what we do is we then manage that account based upon the expenses that are approved. Well, city council and or planning, based upon the expenses that are approved by that entity, that city agent entity, such as the council or planning, that what work has been done. So that's how we kind of manage those to make sure that there is no cost that is being assumed by the city on the taxpayer for something that really the person proposing the project has requested to be done. So just so that we can make sure that there's a little bit of education out there, because there's just been questions, it's a barrage of questions around these custodial accounts. And the custodial accounts are also included in the quarterly report, the activities thereof. So that is pretty much, there's clear transparency around that.
And can I just say additionally, that because there's a custodial account does not mean that the project's been approved and it's going through a custodial project. And I just wanted to say that
Correct.
plainly, because you said a lot, so I wanted to boil it down to a custodial account does not mean that a project has been approved. The custodial account, as the controller had already noted, is so that the potential developer has to pay the upfront soft costs that the city, which we probably should not be doing, was assuming, right? The city should not be paying for soft exploratory costs for developers. The developers should be paying for that. And so this is a responsible fiscal practice that is being enacted over the past few years to make the responsibility fall on the developer and not on our taxpayers. And I felt the need to say that because not only escrow accounts are created, even as projects are going before the council for zoning approvals or their lead agency, does not mean, again, that those have been approved. And even if they're approved for zoning, it does not mean that they'll be approved for IDA. Everyone wants to run 5 steps ahead and start assuming what the city is going to do around projects, right? Escrow accounts, taking care of the soft costs, the city lead agency, city council around zoning and variances and things of that nature. An approval on the council's part has nothing to do with approval on the IDA part for any types of financial incentives to projects. So while there is always so much speculation as to what's happening, they're very different pieces and they're all parts of the process. So I just wanted to say that. Roll call?
Aye. Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 21, Law Department, an ordinance to authorize the conveyance of 0 Vernon Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, to Myrtle Jones, and to authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
All right, so
Come on.
this is a situation that has been going on for long before I actually became comptroller. Where the city actually through an interim foreclosure process took up the property that consisted of actually 2 parcels. And in the process, as you know, there's a period of redemption and all of that, the owner actually redeemed the property. However, in the midst of the transaction of returning the property back over to the ownership of the homeowner, only 1 parcel got transferred back over, right? To it, and left the other one still on being owned by the city. And so we have been going through the process of making sure we have had all of the details and all of the facts around it. And also that also Ms. Jones has been coming in persistently trying to get this done because it had not been done previously through the previous city administrators that were here. And so we finally have gotten to this place to finally turn this property back over rightfully, that had already gone through the legal process of redemption, right? Not starting a process for redemption now, 10 years after, right? Which is beyond the statute of limitation, beyond the element of rule. Yes, it is. It's beyond.
10 years.
Right, and so, but this was actually then ordered by the court, by the legal system, and so therefore, we are now correcting that administratively did not get resolved. Makes
And it
sense?
should be noted that it wasn't the city's fault.
Right,
It was the non-payment by the title company for that 1 lot.
correct, okay, right, so it wasn't the city's fault on it, but nevertheless, we needed
Had to get it
to
back.
follow the process to get it done.
Correct.
All right,
Thank you. Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Salary resolution, number 22, Department of Planning and Community Development, salary resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Question?
Yeah, I just need explanation. If we look at the salaries of the secretaries to department heads and even the city officers, we pretty much kind of standardize that. And so, just be honest, this would make that this particular secretary is probably the highest paid secretary in the city, and need some qualification as to why we're making this change. We just made a change, I guess, in 2024 to those salaries, and now we're making another change, even though there's money in temporary. I just need to. I'm hoping that there's some additional information to help me with this.
I don't have details on it, so we can hold it and bring it back. That's the best thing I can say. I mean, other than the letter. I haven't drilled down into this.
I move to withdraw the motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Thank you. Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard,
Aye.
we're holding number 22.
Yes.
Under, under settlements, number 23, settlement of claim for property damage, Carlson Thompson, $7,049.77.
So move.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, I'll be abstaining again, for the same reasons as the last two meetings. That we need legal counsel to speak with the whole council. In full transparency, Johan connected me with Andrew Quinn, who was, working on number 25, and he gave me some background, but, didn't have enough time to relate it to all council members, and they also asked me to abstain on that one so that they could get clarification. So just as an FYI.
Okay. Roll call? You have.
So, well, yeah, because, we have, we've been at this same place several times, right? Where the council is saying that they need to have, some more information on these kind of settlements. And I'm wondering, is there a way for us to put into some mechanism in place to make sure that this happens, right? And I'm not concerned about the first two, but the third one seems to be one that seems to have sometimes sensitivity to it, right?
Correct.
Itself. And it would have been my understanding that, yeah, there would have been some discussion, especially given the amount, right, with the council, on that. And so is there a way maybe for the law department to work through the what's the committee that supervises legislative works and
Public legislation,
Oh.
public works.
legislation and public works committee to make sure that there's some kind of communication on that, and then there could be some, at least, there's some additional feedback and whatever needs to be happening from the full council, that committee chair in communication with the corporation council can make sure that flow of communication happens, so we're not kind of in this, right? Because I would prefer not to be voting on them without the council kind of having it all, even though I understand that there may be a need to do something here today because I am aware of
Mhm.
it, but just so we can
Yeah.
maybe work on
Well,
that.
for the big one, they've spoken, but
But I thought she said she said that she still had to,
Full
So
council.
wanted me to abstain, they.
but they want to abstain on that one too. Yeah.
So, I mean, my suggestion would be on our council meeting nights on the, that we can meet then, since all the council is there and we can have executive session, because it's attorney-client privilege. Or we set up maybe a weekly call on Fridays before the Board of Estimates meeting so that council can join and we can just get the information and ask the questions that we need. And they can tell me how they want me to vote.
I'm good either way. Because, as soon as we get them, we send them in, so maybe sometime that's too short, the timeframe,
Yeah,
maybe
if
we need to
do
extend it
eventually,
or whatever.
That'd be helpful, because we're all in the room. I don't have to quarrel with cats, that'd be the simplest way.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
So are we holding off on 23 and 24 and going forward with 25? What are we doing?
No,
No, I'm just-
yeah, I'm okay with 24 and 25 again. I mean, I'm okay with. I mean, I did. And it's small amounts.
Right. Okay. And just again, for the record, because I thought at one time when we spoke, it was under a certain threshold. So is the threshold, there is no
Yes.
low threshold.
For the settlements, it wasn't a threshold. It was for the notice of claims. When we got notice of claims in, we get 1 million of them. We
Mhm.
said under a threshold. But for these, we didn't talk about a threshold. I mean, so for these, I can't answer the questions, because I'm not the attorney on it. So I can't, fill that void in. That's why for these, I would love to have this council just give us a background.
Okay.
Are the first two settlements or not the first two claims?
They're separate.
Settlements.
Yeah, so, okay, all right, thank you.
So are we taking them individually, collectively? How are we doing?
Do we
Take them
move-
individually.
We moved the first one?
Move
Okay.
this one.
Okay. So roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye. Oh, Jesus, abstain, abstain. And then the whole speech. Abstention.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay. Number 24, settlement of claim for property damage, James Moore, $1,775.26.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Abstention.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 25, settlement of lawsuit in the matter of Henderson Clark, $150,000.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Abstain.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Under tax reviews,
Done.
oops,
I just want to go back for 23 and 24. Not sure if these were the exact circumstances, but I just want to stay as part of this meeting and for the public, and we're going to be putting out more information. You know, some of these occur because people are parking too close to the corners, because people are parking in places they should not be parking in, right? And so we are going to increase our enforcement around parking, because when our trucks, when our DPW trucks, when our fire trucks, when our larger police ESU trucks can't make a turn at a corner because people are parked at the corner. So not just ticketing, but towing. And I think we need to look at what we can do to make it even quicker. You know, we shouldn't have to wait for a certain amount of tickets to be able to tow. But if they're in places that are impeding the travel of especially, you know, our city vehicles and our buses, then we should be able to immediately tow them. And I'm gonna say to the taxpayers, without apology, right? If you choose to buy a car in a neighborhood where you know there's no parking, then that's your choice. And if you choose to buy a car when you know there's no parking, we can't allow you to park at stop signs at the corner and in walkways and in front of fire hydrants and things of that nature. You have every right to buy a car, but if you don't have parking that's convenient and you can't find parking, then that can't become a public safety issue, or a free pass to violate parking rules here in the city of Mount Vernon. We're not building more streets to make it convenient for you to have parking. And, you know, we're not tapping on people's doors to say you can only have, you have a driveway and you have two cars. If you park a car in the street, then we're going, you know, I mean, that's just going, you know, people have changed their living patterns. Adult children are living there and extra family are living there. And so we have more cars and we don't have more parking available. And people kind of have to make decisions. But at the same time, we still have to enforce the rules and the law here in Mount Vernon. And it is not our way to make money in the city, but it is our way to make sure that, especially around public safety, that our public safety and our service vehicles can get around the city, and that we can do that without hitting your cars because they are parked illegally, and take care of city business and not have to pay out settlements for situations. So, you know, just kind of wanted to put that on the record. We can move forward to the next one.
Okay. Under tax review settlement, number 26, settlement for RJR 1720 Properties LLC, $2,058.65.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
That concludes the agenda.
Any new business?
I think, well, one, we just we did send out the communication to the council, to the mayor, and then also to the city. about the 2019 audit, that, was, completed and, well, issued out last week. We have, finished all of the field work for 2020. It's now a matter of the accountants, and the, auditors doing their, analysis work, on that. And, this usually is what takes the longer period of time because, the way that this works is that the city audit cannot be issued out until the agency audits are complete. Specifically, and it's not IDA, 'cause IDA is completely separated. Other than of course between, what happens with the pilot payments that come into city. But the URA and the water supply audits, have to be. We had some challenges with 19, leading into 20 because there was a change in software, that was happening with the board of water supply, which actually created some delays. And then also, as you know, there was also, some challenges as it pertains in those years with payments that were made or partially paid, stuff that had gone back to HUD related to administrative costs, of URA into the city, as well. We finally got those kind of cleared out because once those are kind of cleared out, then it allows us to be able to complete the city audit and then also, to actually complete the single audit. And the single audit is the audit that's about to be done for the federal government. Anything that's, I think, above $750,000 has to kind of be reported in that. And in these latter years, we've been getting, besides even URA, we've been getting more money from federal government that meets that threshold too. So it becomes a little bit more complex than what it is. So we envision, that 2020 will not take quite as long, to get complete because the software issues are not there. It was in 2020 that actually earlier in that year that there were a lot of payments that actually were caught up in URA. However, that, we're working through some of those reconciliations right now to try to make sure that we have all of the documentation. We also moved away, in 2020, from there being this heavy load of administrative costs in URA. And so that will lessen the complexity of the inflows and outflows between the accounts. We've also done some corrective measures on our accruals and compensated absences stuff that we see that was deficient in so many of the previous years. We know that 2020 is also going to be a very difficult, challenging financial year because that was the COVID year, right? And there's those very high expenditures in 2020, some of which we've received some reimbursements for, especially around those emergency folks, fire and police, but yet the cost was there. There was also the revenues, also even more than any other year, definitely were significantly lower in those years as well for it. So we'll see how that pans out, but the goal is to have 2020 done sometime around end of March, beginning of April, and then moving swiftly into 2021. And 2021 should not be quite as difficult, but there still was some missing information in the financial system related to taxes collected as well as also revenues. But again, as I reported before, we've had our team both internally and externally, and we've got a team of accountants that are actually working on this, right? Internally and externally, that are maintaining what we're doing every day, and then also catching up to those things that had not been there before. And so we believe that we are kind of in good place with that. And so hopefully 2021 then will come in sometime in early May, end of April, early May. And we'll keep on. We've got a very aggressive kind of thing I did actually had a conversation this weekend with the state comptroller about it, just to kind of make sure so where he was with what we are doing. And I gotta be honest, I mean, he's very pleased with the fact that we've been able to kind of get our annual fiscal financial reports in, right? So the last one we just submitted was the 19. We got some corrections back from the auditor that we actually worked on this weekend. Brian and I actually had some communication this weekend on it, even in the middle of my busy weekend, to kind of get some of that done. We've resubmitted it. I'm going to certify that tonight, and hopefully that will be cleared out so then it becomes reported in the comptroller system. The audits the annual financial report for the state comptroller's office runs parallel. So we can't put one in before the other. We got to get the audit done in order to do it. So as what we've been doing is simultaneously getting them both done at the same time to try to get it done. And so that's the goal. And we've been kind of moving forward as swiftly as we possibly can. So just wanted to kind of give you that kind of update. We also have the accountants and the auditors are scheduled to come in and give a public presentation in March, so that the community will be able to ask, because we've been getting a lot of questions. Well, I'm not going to say I've been getting a lot of questions about the audits and about the process and about the financial records and all that. And I have come to the conclusion that some of our residents don't believe that I am not necessarily giving all of the information, the truthful information, or that it's right. So I asked the auditors and the accountants to be able to kind of convey it, because sometimes hearing a different voice actually makes people understand that, I'm not speaking out of turn on some of the stuff, right? That is happening. So that's just the audit financial kind of analysis or reporting aspect of this, which I know is important and has been important.
Well, first of all, most cities are only required to do one audit a year. And I think this is probably the second audit that we've released this year, or maybe, in the last 3 years, there's been 4 audits done. And probably in the next, like you said, month or so, it's going to be another one followed by another one, right? And so it's hard to do audits on systems that you didn't create. It's hard to do audits on systems that didn't exist. And we're moving along. And I know that your office, along with URA and the water department, are doing everything possible, right? Because there's other funding that we have that's being held up also until we get our audits done. And so our grant from DASNY for the Dole Center and the renovation of the Dole Center can't come through until our audits are caught up. And so there are a lot of things that are riding on the audits, and I've seen your team and the Urban Renewal Agency's team work hard, as well as the Water Department's team work hard. We're working on audits of times before we got here and before you got into your position. We're coming up on the 2020 audit, which we said was still a difficult year because there were millions of dollars that were sent back to HUD, and not just for administrative purposes, but for program and capital purchases and expenditures and things of that nature, which makes it very difficult to untangle, to the point that in 2021, we had to go to a different way of doing it and have escrow accounts set up in the clerk's office so that the monies could go directly to the clerk. People who don't know the full history and only get some of the more recent highlights have a lot of questions and concerns and criticisms. And, bottom line, I get it. I don't think any of us, when we sat in this seat, it was all too much for us to wrap our heads around. It was like, what? This cannot be true. But then you sit with it and you realize it is absolutely all true. And you have to find a way to work through it. And so, a lot of the speculation and the lack of trust or lack of confidence sometimes comes from the fact that unfortunately, sometimes truth is harder and reality is harder to accept. And a lie is easier to digest. And so, it's easier for people to move and lean into the disinformation and misinformation that is out there because the truth is literally the truth and it's a harder pill to swallow. So I wanted to just thank you and the financial teams for working hard because it has not been easy. And while it's easy to speculate, it's not easy to work through it. So thank you. And I think it is good to have, like you said, sometimes other voices come in because they, have no reason and you don't have any reason, but they don't have any reason to paint a different picture. The facts are the facts, and the facts aren't easy, but they are the facts. Any other new business?
Nope.
Okay. Motion to adjourn,
Move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard,
Aye.